Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Caudill, and I'm the Director of Higher Education and Workforce at the Dallas Regional Chamber. And just like he said, I want to hear from you. So up there, it will be up there, is my Twitter handle. Please, please, please tweet at me, ask questions. I want to engage with you. Also, I'm 2 followers away from hitting 300. So I'd really appreciate if 2 people would follow me here. Thank you. So today, I am going to ask one simple question. What's your impact? And I mean that in the sense of talking about what is your impact on your campus, in your city, in your state, in your nation? How are you making sure that you're civically engaged and that you're leaving your mark? So a little bit of what I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk through what I do, which is work in the legislative process through an organization, the Dallas Regional Chamber, give you a few tips of how you can engage, and then hopefully help you figure out what's your impact. So first and foremost, most people don't know what a Chamber of Commerce is. I didn't know what a Chamber of Commerce was till after I accepted the position there. So Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit membership-based organization. We have over 2,000 businesses that are members, which include kind of the big names like Microsoft, Verizon, UTA, go Mavs, y'all are members, and all the way down to mom and pop's diner across the way. People are a little surprised when they find out about 65% of our businesses have fewer than 50 employees, so we really have a good diversity of membership. And that's important to remember because when I'm representing the business community of Dallas, I'm not just representing those big names, I'm representing the small businesses that really drive our economy. So, like I said earlier, I'm the Director of Higher Education and Workforce. Another confusing question that I didn't understand until after I accepted the position. Why in the world does a Chamber of Commerce care about education? And a Chamber of Commerce cares about education because it's all about economic development. And if you don't have an educated workforce, then you're gonna have a workforce that isn't empowered to make a living wage, get out of poverty, and contribute to the economy of a city. So my organization, I'm blessed, decided 5 years ago that this was very, very important to them. And they wanted to engage not only locally in our community by doing simple things like volunteering, connecting those big CEOs of different organizations to our schools, but also they wanted to advocate on behalf of the education institutions in the Dallas region. So I created this handy-dandy flow chart that really helps explain kind of what I do. So I'm in the middle with the Dallas Regional Chamber. I work with regional businesses, which is Dallas, Denton, and Collin County, but we reach all the way over to Arlington and Fort Worth. I work with elected officials in government, so typically the city of Dallas or the state legislature, and I work personally with all the higher education institutions. So as you can see up there, UTA is very well represented, as are the other regional institutions, including community colleges. And I put that there to show kind of the different stakeholders that I work with. So I have a lot of different people talking to me about a lot of different things in very different languages. And I mean that in the sense that educators speak very differently than business CEOs, speak very differently than legislators. So a big part of my job is really translating between the two, because a lot of times they're talking at each other, but not necessarily understanding. And even small things like education, people tend to hug a lot more than necessarily the CEO of AT&T. I had to learn that. So with that, the way that we engage with our state legislature is through creating a legislative agenda. So this is my opportunity to say, okay, I want to know what's my impact. First, I need to know what am I impacting? What is important to me? What is important to the business community? And we go through a number of different stages, whether it's doing research, talking to our constituents, figuring out what are really the issues of education in DFW. And that's when we came up with this. I'm not expecting you to read it. I just wanted to show you an example of kind of what it looks like. So remember how I said earlier that we have over 2,000 member organizations? That is 2,000 different opinions on education. Now, I'm very lucky that everyone I interact with genuinely wants to improve education for the students. And I do believe that. Call me naive, call me whatever you want. I genuinely believe that everyone that I interact with has good intentions. but how you get to making education better is where everyone differs so drastically. And when you're talking about education policy, you're not just talking about, well, we may lose a couple $1,000, or maybe the bridge won't be in the perfect place. We're talking about the future of students. We're talking about the future of our city. If we accidentally mess up a policy and suddenly there's 4 years of students that were not adequately prepared and now living in poverty, that's a pretty big deal. So when you're working in public policy, especially in education, you have to be very careful and thoughtful about what you're doing and realizing it's going to impact a lot of people, and not just the students directly, but our entire city, state, and nation. So as we're developing these, we come up with different ideas, we bounce off each other as a staff, we talk to experts, I talk to different stakeholders, I talk to President Karpari here at UTA, and we put this bad boy together. And as you can see, there are a lot of little lines at the corner. I have to get it approved by 4 different committees or councils, including our board of directors, because remember, 2,000 different people have their say in this. Once I do that, I have the green light. I can do whatever I feel I need to do based on this agenda. So whenever you're crafting these big statements that you want to be able to take to a legislator and say, this is what I'm advocating for, you have to make sure that it has enough meat to it that it means something. I'm not just going to put up there, I want to make education better. That has no meat to it. I want to say something along the lines of, I want to advocate for full-day pre-K for qualified students. That is a policy. That is specific and can have action taken on it. But at the same time, it's vague enough that if there was a piece of legislation that came up that just dealt with pre-K in general, I could take a stance on that. So you have to be really thoughtful about your wording and about making sure that it is broad enough that you can really advocate for what you care about, because no one knows what kind of bills are going to come up, but it also has enough purpose to it that it means something. So once we have this bad boy, and you are ready to go, you're like, I really care about this, I'm passionate, I know what I'm doing. Now I'm sitting in front of a senator and I have no idea what to say. That's scary. And you have to really think that through as well. Something that we found that was really useful was using one-pagers. And this is a great example of you make it colorful, bright, it catches your eye. So when I walk in and I'm talking to a legislator, they have something to look at. They're looking at the faces of the 4-year-olds that this pre-K legislation is going to impact. We also made sure that we put logos on there. So there are a number of different partners on there that range from nonprofits to educational institutions to businesses, and these are all people that have decided that their organization cares about this and supports this. And I guarantee you, every legislator that I spoke with, when I showed them one of these papers, one organization on there spoke to them. Whether this legislator knew that Kids University, a nonprofit in Dallas, specifically helped their schools, or if they were able to glance at this and see that Brian's house is on there and they just happen to be on the board, or their spouse is on the board. Someone has a connection to this. Someone cares about at least one of these organizations' causes, and these organizations are supporting what we're trying to advocate for. We found that through coalition building, it was a lot more effective to get things done. Houston has done a phenomenal job of this, which as a Dallas person, I don't like very much. But Houston has done a great job, and they really block together and work together. So we decided we want to do the same thing. And so I was able to, with the United Way of Metropolitan Dallas and the Commit Partnership, to bring over 100 different organizations together to say we are Dallas Regional Education Partners, and we are going to have a unified voice in this legislative session. And we heard nothing but positive feedback, and we made real impact. So I've been down there, I've been meeting with people. What happens after things have passed? So this is a legislative accountability index. It is not a scorecard. I've gotten in a few arguments about that. It is not a scorecard. We took public information of how our regional legislators voted, and we put it in a way that the public can understand better. So we select, again, I'm not expecting you to read that, but you can find it online. We put together the different bills that we thought were important to either pass or not pass, and we simply recorded how they voted. And this is our way of further saying, we're holding you accountable. We voted for you. We trusted you to represent us and to represent our educational partners. And now we're holding you accountable for what you said that you were going to do to help our community. And this was the first year we did it. So far, it's proven great. And like I said, it helps communicate more about what are our legislators voting on, because it's very difficult to understand just by looking on there. So now that you know a little bit about the process and kind of how you can advocate, I want to talk about a few challenges. If you're all looking at me right now, I am young. I am very young. I am wearing polka dot tights and a poofy dress, and my hair is in a bun. And I'm very bubbly, and this is very much me. And this is also not necessarily easy when I'm trying to talk to an established senator or an established representative that has no idea what this cute little girl wearing tights is coming in babbling about education about. And that was hard for me. I actually remember calling my mother saying, I am so frustrated, no one will take me seriously, I am smart, I'm passionate, why can't I get my message across? And it was hard, because I can't change this about me. I can't change the fact that I'm only 26. I can't change the fact that I am just naturally passionate about what I'm doing. This is me. And rather than stew and sit and get nothing done, I decided I was gonna use that to my advantage. So I thought, okay, I'm young. Who else is young? The legislative staffers. The staffers are the same age as I am, sometimes younger. The staffers are the ones that are constantly moving, that know just as much about the legislation, and they're the ones who decide what papers, what meetings, what everything gets in front of their actual senator and representative. So I decided I was going to become friends and build relationships with every staffer on the higher education committee, Senate, and House. I would just go in there. A lot of times we'd both accidentally be wearing the same glasses or dresses or different things and just build those relationships. And once you're talking about where they went to school, UT Austin, and then you talk about how it's really hard to transition from college, how, I like my apartment, but it's not very big because I have so many student loans. Student debt's really a big problem. I wonder if we could increase the student state-funded financial aid. The Texas Grants is up to get additional monies in it. I think actually your senator is on that committee. You see how I simply went from building a relationship and talking about where they went to school to specifically talking about what I was advocating for, which was additional funding for state financial aid for students. Something else I want to stress is that this is genuine. Although I was using this understanding that I'm young, and rather than having it go against me, I'm going to use it as an asset, I was 100% genuine. I wasn't lying, I wasn't trying to trick anyone, and believe me, they could have seen right through that if I was. I just wanted to connect, because I am so passionate about these things, and I understand that the way that you get things done, especially at this level, is through relationships. So if you're going to take anything away from this, I just want you to know that the way that you can make your impact is to tell your story. If you're a first-generation college student and you understand the struggles of not having enough time with your advisor, and you need more funding for advisors, or you need more guidance so that you can have that time, go and tell someone. You are the population that this is affecting. You are the population that can make a difference. And that is the biggest thing I want you to take from what is your impact. It's exactly who you are. It's just making sure that you are calling and emailing and writing letters. Writing a letter to your congressman, that's an actual thing you should do. And making sure that you're telling that story, because that's what makes the biggest impact. If I just sat down there and threw a piece of paper and a bunch of data, that's going to do nothing. But when I talk about my brother, who has worked on his bachelor's degree for 12 years because he can't find a 4-year or 2-year institution where all of his credits will transfer in at once, that is a story. And that is something that makes people listen, and it makes people care and understand and want to do something about it. And I told him that I was going to use that story before I did it, I promise. And he's great with it. So I would just say tell your story in every way that you can, through social media, which there's actually a TED Talk later this afternoon about using social media in policy. Please go to that. #TexasLedge, it's phenomenal. It's hilarious, informative, follow it. And just testify for your needs. Get involved in the political process, whether that's volunteering door to door, donating $5, phone banking, or even running for office someday. You can do it. You just have to be able to tell your story. So with that, I really encourage you to please contact me, talk to me. I want to get to know all of you so that we can make a collective impact together. And again, don't forget to tweet at me. All right, thank you very much.